Hosea 1 to 3. Again, Hosea is a contemporary of Isaiah, so we'll read him now. You'll find that this book really, more than almost any other minor prophet, goes over the entire story of Israel from beginning to end. So this is a good chance to recheck your own version of the biblical story as you read through the book of Hosea. Just like Isaiah, the story is that the northern kingdom is about to fall to Assyria, time of material prosperity, but God is condemning the nation for their idolatry. Well, the beginning of the book gets our attention right away, where God tells Hosea, go marry a woman of unfaithfulness. Now, that may mean she will become unfaithful or she already is. And then there will be 3 children born to your marriage, he's told by God, and you're going to name the second child No Mercy, Lo Ruchama. Racham just means pity or compassion, no mercy. And then the third child, Not My People, Lo Ami, not my people. Now what God is basically doing is having Hosea name his children in such a way that the entire nation, of course besides not just Hosea and his wife, Gomer by the way is her name, but the entire nation will be given this illustration of the breaking of the covenant between Yahweh and his people. Why is he breaking it? Because they broke it first. And this is very well described in chapter 3, verse 1. Then the Lord said to me, go again, love a woman who is committing adultery, just like the love of the Lord for the children of Israel who look to other gods. In other words, God comes down wanting to love and be faithful to, and here's the illustration of Gomer, he wants to love Israel and be loved in return. But she, or Israel, has gone after other gods, and so God is hurt. He's pained, and he wants people to see that pain, and what he is doing is giving Hosea the same sense of the pain that he has in his relationship to Israel. Well, this really brings up a good point, or a question that we brought up actually back in Job, chapter 22 specifically, and that is, does God have the right to do this to a person? To tell him to marry someone who would be or become unfaithful and all the pain that goes with it. What does God owe us, in other words? By the way, this is only the first of 3 examples in the prophets of prophets who are used, or God uses their spouse as an illustration. This is in Jeremiah 16:2. Jeremiah is told, God says, you shall not take a wife, nor shall you have sons or daughters in this place. So Jeremiah's call included the idea that he could not marry. He could not enjoy the privilege of marriage. And then Ezekiel 24:16, Son of man, behold, I take away from you the desire of your eyes with one stroke. His wife would die. Yet you shall neither mourn nor weep, nor shall your tears run down. And then the text goes on to tell the story of Ezekiel's wife dying. Well, again, does God have the right to do this to a person, to even use their life as an illustration for the present and succeeding generations? Well, I would certainly say yes, God has the right. In fact, let's think of one more verse in conclusion. This is in Isaiah 45, verse 7. This is a classic verse that gets to this issue of, does God have the right to do what he wants to do with us? Isaiah 45:7, I form the light and create darkness, Yahweh says. I make peace, that's shalom, and create evil, that's the Hebrew word ra. I, the Lord, Yahweh, do all these things. It's very tempting as humans, and this is that world that Hosea is living in, where the temptation is to look up to the world of gods and goddesses and want only shalom from your God and not want evil or ra from your God. And that's the competition, in the sense of why you would worship a God in that day. I want shalom from my God, and I want to avoid the opposite. So what Isaiah 45:7 is doing is purposely bookending all events from the best to the worst. And God is saying you can't look at the world that way. of the average person. You must understand that how does the verse end? I, the Lord, do all these things. I cause the pearl, but I also cause the grist that gives birth to the pearl. This is comparable monotheism. There's one ruler, not two, not 10. There's one ruler in the universe. And everything, ultimately, even this kind of a story, is attributable to the God who, well, loves us. And there's more of the story, of course, to tell, but as I've said before, I find the problem of evil, which is really getting into this issue here, to be not a good cause of atheism or disbelief, simply because it's too simple. The Bible beats us to this question far before anyone ever came up with the problem of evil in a modern book. So when people say, aha, I've discovered a reason to disbelieve in God, and I call it the problem of evil, I think the best thing to do is just show them the Bible, the biblical story, and notice that we were introduced to this long time ago. So the Bible characters, the people within the story, never divided between those who saw the problem of evil and those who ignored the problem of evil. The biblical story is dividing between people who, and I attribute this to C.S. Lewis, it divides between people who say, in the end, thy will be done, or those to whom God says, thy will be done.